Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Or maybe you didn't see me. And, I bet there's a lot of things that you don't see. You probably think I'm reading this textbook. Nope. I'm reading this textbook. A lot of things can be hidden, and you might not even notice that they're there. This reminds me of a story.
This is Manu. A boy of big brain and little smarts, he often finds himself bored in class. To pass the time, he likes to send notes to his friend HK. Unfortunately for him, he's not very good at it. Look out, Manu. Here comes the teacher. Well, that didn't go very well at all.
He was pretty obvious, huh? While his message was hidden, he was still clearly sending a message. Silly Manu. He should have been using steganography. I guess I better explain. Steganography is a form of cryptography, which involves hiding information within other information. While many forms of cryptography can obscure the meaning of a message, steganography can obscure that the message even exists. The first recorded usage was in 440 BC in ancient Greece, where a famed historian shaved the head of one of his vassals, tattooed a message onto his scalp, and then waited for the hair to grow back before sending him off to a vassal. So, should Manu shave his head? Or at least his beard? No. Well, not for this anyway. No. As society has moved on from servants and vassals to present day, steganography has moved with it. The most commonly used form of steganography now is image steganography, which deals with hiding information in the unused bits of digital files. How do they do it? Using a message known as single value decomposition. A singular value decomposition is a manner of breaking down a matrix into 3 submatrices, which allows for the easy isolation of the important and unimportant values. Assuming the original matrix A, we know that these 2 statements are true. A transpose A can be represented as a sum of its eigenvalues, multiplied by its eigenvectors, and then multiplied again by the transpose of those eigenvectors. Similarly, for AA transpose, it is equivalent to the sum of its eigenvalues multiplied by its eigenvectors, and then again by its eigenvectors transposed. To think about what this would mean in terms of what's happening to a matrix, you can imagine it as being shifted to a new coordinate plane by the transpose of the eigenvectors, scaled by the eigenvalues, and then shifted back to the original coordinate plane by the original eigenvectors. In this diagram, we have visualized these 2 equations. Where it gets interesting is in their intersection. As you can see, we can isolate the A matrix and show that it is equivalent to the application of the transpose of the eigenvectors of A transpose A, the scaling by the square root of the eigenvalues, and then the shifting back by the eigenvectors of AA transpose, deriving this equation. Here we've expanded out the equation. As the diagonal matrix of singular values is ranked in terms of decreasing importance, we can use it to also rank the corresponding eigenvectors by their importance. The combination of these 2 eigenvectors then results in a series of matrices, which, when combined, gives us the image, broken down in terms of which parts are important and which parts aren't. So why is this helpful? Well, now that we've isolated the unimportant values of the matrix, the U vectors with low sigma values, we can change them to encode our message. Now, we don't want to change too much of the image's composition, so let's say we just change the sign. Say, a positive sign to encode a 1 and a negative sign to encode a 0, allowing us to code in binary. Now, orthogonality is paramount to the function of this matrix, so it is important that we also substitute additional values to ensure that the vectors stay orthogonal. Give it a shot, Manu.
Now you've got it. Ah, nice picture. By changing the unimportant values, you should be able to hide your message no problem. Perfect. Now for a nice... What?
What went wrong? Well, remember earlier when we said we were going to have to change some of the values to maintain orthogonality? Well, it looks like we changed too many. If we alter the U matrix too much, the composition of the image degrades greatly, and as you can see, it was made completely unintelligible. So how do we mitigate this? Well, there are two methods. The first is to protect columns. By leaving the vectors at the beginning, the ones that correlate to higher sigma values, untouched, we can ensure that the more important elements of the matrix remain as they are, making the composition that much better. The second thing we can do is to chop up the U matrix into many smaller pieces. This ensures that any changes we do make happen on a much smaller scale in the matrix, making sure that the overall image is in much better quality. Let's watch Manu try again, this time with protected columns and a smaller block size.
By protecting columns, Manu should be able to ensure that his image stays consistent. That's more like it. Uh-oh, caught again. This time, it's no problem. Nice going, Manu. Looks like you learned one single valuable lesson.
A record of linearity 1, spring 2019. Wow.
That's the easy isolation.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Image, damn it. Okay. Just image, fuck. Stenography is able to, I don't like the pauses that I'm doing. It has moved away from service and vassals and more towards digital images. We have found this fat fucking nut. Value decomposition allows for the isolation of easy. No, that wasn't it. Okay. My hands.
You want to take a breath?
Okay. I'm gonna.
Ready?